Good day, folks. I'd like to take the moment to address all the negative comments I've been receiving lately. I don't know, folks. It seems like everything I do, the more I give out, I give you everything pretty well on a silver platter. Everything I know, and it's all the facts. I mean, I'm using the heavy side component of the wire here. This is not current in the traditional sense. We're using displacement current, a system that's completely neglected in traditional electrodynamics. So if you got your closed loop mindset here, this is not going to work from the start. And with that said, I keep telling people, keep that loop open, keep that loop open. And what do people do? They accuse me of closing the loop right away without actually watching the video or reading the content. I keep explaining it. You cannot close the loop. The grounds have to be isolated from each other. That's actually a big no-no. Don't close the loop. I actually show this, folks. I use a 12-volt battery because, I'm starting to anticipate what people are going to say now, so I try and cover my bases. So what do? I show you a 12-volt battery on a video. I put in an inverter. Where's the closed loop, folks? Show me the closed loop. I used a one-wire system on the inverter. It works perfectly the same way. No closing the loop. How am I closing the loop, folks? If that wasn't enough, I show you that I could use my body as a ground instead, and poof, the voltages raises to those hundreds of volts. Instead of people understanding that, what do? They scrutinize me instead for using my body as a ground instead of getting into the actual substance of what's going on here. And it's completely crazy, folks, because a lot of people, even with their Tesla coils, if they knew this, they're not really doing it right, folks. If you want to build a Tesla coil, you're supposed to build it like a dipole. Tom Bearden has it right. So that means two sets. One which is your main Tesla coil, like you would normally build with your LC circuits, but you would have to have another coil right underneath. You literally make a dipole antenna, like a loaded dipole antenna with it, but you also have to tune the ground part exactly to your coil. It has to be symmetrical. We know this in ham radio. I'm a ham operator. Tuning the ground is very important. It's not just running a wire into the ground and calling it a day. The ground magnetically has to be tuned with your oscillator's frequency. In our sense, with the ham radio, the frequency we're operating. And when we build big antennas, especially on low frequencies, we make it symmetrical. We have the equivalent of one Tesla coil on the radiator and the same Tesla coil on the ground, which is tuned exactly. You know how much more efficient your Tesla coils would be, folks, if you would actually tune the ground? No one does it. They just ground into an earth ground and call it a day without realizing what they're wasting by doing that. I try and shed light into this, and instead people accuse me of closing the loop. Instead of accusing me of closing the loop, prove to me how. Why? Don't just say I'm closing the loop. I did everything on my end, and I very well specify if you're going to use mains, it has to be isolated. It has to be isolated. Don't go and ground with the same ground as your electrical. That's not going to work. But you could use a counterpoise. You could use a big mass. You could use a long wire like I'm doing, going outside, not connecting to anything. You could use the sky basically is the limit. The point is, don't close that loop. And if you're going to accuse me of closing the loop, offering a return path, I challenge you. Tell me specifically how I'm closing that loop. Because I know I'm not, folks. And the inverter on the 12-volt battery pretty well nullifies all those claims that I'm apparently exploiting. So with that said, I'm starting to really wonder if I should start filtering the comments, turning them off altogether, or adding a post approval or something, because it seems like it doesn't matter how much I give, people will scrutinize anyways. So I don't mind scrutiny, folks. That's the whole idea, is open discussion. And here and there I've been corrected before, and I've acknowledged when there was an obvious mistake and thanked the people and moved on. It didn't actually change the outcome, but it was some mistakes and people caught on in my math, basically some amplitudes, but I corrected that. No problem. But if you can't actually get into the specifics, I don't know how I could kindly say it, but shut the A up because, you're not doing anyone anything. by just saying that doesn't work or you're closing the loop. Explain. If you can't explain, keep it to yourself, because other people want to learn. A lot of people are getting it, but I'm not sure if it's just people who know but they're trolling, or they legitimately don't know, or they're just doing it to mess with me. Either case, I'm getting very close to the end here, and I'm going to probably just shut off comments altogether. If you want to comment, just go on my forum. That will always be open, and we're all open to your suggestions. It's a nice crowd there, so no trolling in the forums, and if there is, trust me, I'm going to deal with it very quickly without YouTube's permission. So with that said, folks, this isn't relative to my latest videos with the one wire system. I use one wire, and again, no return paths. And if you could explain it, that I'm exploiting a return path, especially when I use an inverter on a 12-volt battery completely isolated, and it does the same thing. And not only that, folks, and I showed a video, look, it works with no ground at all. Nowhere near efficient, anywhere from 25 to maybe 50 volts, but still it's something that you could use if you're absolutely for some reason you can't even build a tuned ground here. So again, we're working with magnetics here. It's not the same idea. We're not using the closed loop model here. So all those ideas, all of that math, it all goes out the door, folks. So again, that's all I wanted to say, and I hope I clarified this. And again, thank you for watching and all your support, and those who understand, thank you very much for taking the time. And you know, I do it for me and I do it for you, and hopefully the information will not all go on deaf ears.